Do you know who's the best companion in the entire Fallout franchise? Well, I do, and it's certainly not this fucker. We rated every single Fallout companion from every single Fallout game, except for Fallout 76 or Fallout Shelter. If you're trying to figure out what's the best one for each game, there's timestamps below. And if you want to skip, while you're down there, drop a sub. It's free, unlike Fallout First subscription service.
Here we have the James Bond of Fallout 4. A super guy, secret spy with amazing stats other than strength. Again, it seems to be a running trend with a lot of average strength characters being good in most other things. At least in Fallout 4. As for some pros for Deacon, he has some pretty funny and interesting bits of dialogue. He is also one of the few characters that has lore from other games. And lastly, he is a super spy. He is a character that keeps you on your toes. He is mysterious and doesn't answer many questions, leaving a lot of things up for pure interpretation. But sadly for upsides, that is all we really have. And it is now time for the downsides. First of all, he's hard to recruit because you have to join arguably the absolute worst faction in the Wasteland, as they only care about synths and do nothing to help anybody else for the most part. I'd argue you might be able to do more good just by going with the Institute and taking them over, and that's sad. Not to mention they live in hell. Now on top of that, when you recruit him, he doesn't start out with anything other than a terrible rifle. So despite not being a very early game starting character, he doesn't have much to provide. On top of that, he is always watching you, which is pretty creepy, so I wanted to put that in the cons. And lastly, it is cool that we don't know everything about his character, so certain things stay hidden. However, he lies so much to the point where his character becomes boring. And he lies so often, there is no point in talking to him most times, because you already know it's just going to be another random ass story.
Now with the whole super spy and watching you thing, we decided to give him the title of Professional Stalker. As part of some of Deacon's meta-humor, we have his quote right here.
Insert something Shakespearean involving death and your inevitable doom here.
And again, we may not know much about Deacon, but we still have something. That something is his trivia, and it's right here. Deacon's dialogue contains nods to previous Fallout games, suggesting Code Violet as a team name, which was part of Harkin's override code in The Replicated Man in Fallout 3. And lastly, here is our cobbled together description of Deacon. Deacon is a follower you can recruit by joining the Railroad, and then completing the Tradecraft quest. He has some of the most dialogue in the game compared to most other followers and NPCs in general, out in the wild. He will constantly change his appearance if he's not currently following. He's overall a okay follower, but he leaves a lot to be desired, so overall we gave him a 5.5 out of 10, with the label of Big Brother. He's good at wearing multiple different disguises, and he watches you throughout the game, but sadly we're given barely any info on his character. He's simply too mysterious to be interesting, which is really weird when the mysterious stranger is a beloved character in the franchise. Now on to one of the bestest boys in all of Fallout. Fallout 4 Dogmeat. Somehow, like a lot of dogs, he has low charisma. And God knows why, but he has low endurance too. Somehow he survived the wasteland for many years, but again, low endurance. But maybe that's due to his otherworldly agility and perception. I guess they decided to give this dog the eyes of an eagle, the stamina of a minivan, and the agility of a cheetah. But anyway, as for some pros, like most companions, but we still wanted to add it, he's completely immune to radiation for some reason. Also, you can read a book that makes Dogmeat 10% more resistant to damage. Don't know how that works, but Dogmeat will take any advantage he can get. Lastly, and the thing that makes him the best dog in the series, he can immobilize enemies by biting the back of their leg in combat. It also stops most enemies from shooting, but it seems to be a random chance, so it's good, but it's not overpowered or anything. Now, this bestest boy does have some things wrong with him, and it's the same thing that's wrong with every dog on the list. Dogmeat can't equip armor or weapons. Although he can cause medically equipped dog armor in Fallout 4, but this provides no statistical bonuses. Overall, we decided to give him the title of Red Rocket Hider, because you find him at the start of the game hiding in a Red Rocket gas station.
Now we shall move on to his trivia. Dogmeat was modeled after Rive, a female German shepherd who was the pet of Joel and Michelle Burgess. And now here is a description of this bestest boy. Dogmeat is a companion in Fallout 4 that you can recruit simply by approaching the first Red Rocket station nearest to Sanctuary. Dogmeat will follow you no matter what you do in this game. Completely reliable and a simple doggo with some good stats. Lastly, we gave this boy a 7.5 out of 10 with the title Ankle Biter for obvious reasons. If this list was just dogs, he'd be a 10 out of 10. But he can't talk, he can't equip anything, and doesn't have a real story. However, he is reliable until the very end, and that's what matters most.
Me am strong. Strong name, strong muscle. Me have good eyes, very fast, and run long time. Why should Strong be part of your group? Even for super mutant, Strong has strong skin, and Strong very good at finding food. Now there's some things humans and other creatures don't like about Strong. They say Strong not good at sneaking. Strong don't need to sneak. Some say Strong have not good armor. Strong don't need armor. And some mad at Strong for not being able to use certain weapons. Strong says weapons should be bigger. What? Oh, what did he? Strong is handed paper. Paper says Strong has title of need some milk. Paper is right. I need milk of human kindness. Paper also say, quote, come Deathclaw, Strong teach you how to die. Hey, Strong say that. Strong trivia. Strong after seeing you cure Virgil is very scared to be cured himself and would rather stay super mutant. Strong not scared. Strong only think it's stupid to want to be human. Description. Strong is follower you can recruit after rescuing him and Rex from Trinity Tower. He is in search of the milk of human kindness. But literally, he will follow you forever, but only because he thinks you will help him find the milk eventually. Simple but lovable personality and big lug to bring around the wasteland. Lastly, papers say 7.5 out of 10. Green Homelander. Strong not know what Homelander is or why he's green.
Ian can be found in Shady Sands as soon as you enter the town and explore the building to the right of the entrance. Boasting overall good stats, having his minimum just be at average, Ian is definitely a decent companion to have in the first game. He also has pretty good health, decent combat stats, and is good with an SMG. However, you might want to consider not giving him an SMG, as the classic games have a huge friendly fire problem with the AI.
Alright, now moving on from the things that make him a good follower, let's move on to the bad things about Ian. Fallout 1 is a very old and somewhat rushed game, so a few things were left out. In Ian's case, it's animations, and this will be a problem with many other followers in the classic titles as well. Be sure to keep an eye out for that as we go over the others. In Ian's case specifically, this means that he does not have the ability to use big guns, which is not a big deal in this game, but it is still sad. Now for his last problem, that being his complete lack of drip and the fact that he looks like a raider. No, seriously, he looks identical to a raider if you look at this footage in the background here. So if you lose track of him in combat, you can very, very easily mistake him for an enemy. This issue is resolved in Fallout 2, with its companions giving allies a green outline.
One of the ways to get the best use out of Ian is by having him use the unarmed skill. That is why we gave him the title of Unarmed Champion, further proving his fighting prowess. We have a quote from him. Are radscorpions really that dangerous? Truly a sign of pure testosterone and masculinity. As a description of the man, we'll read off what we have here on the poster. Ian is a companion you find in Shady Sands. He got his ass beat trying to guard some caravans, and now is effectively retired. After staying in Shady Sands to recuperate, all you need to do is recruit him by either passing an intelligence check or having 100 caps, and he'll tag along.
Now we shall move on to the trivia about this man, which is also on the poster. The most dangerous companion in the game when it comes to friendly fire. Ian has a 1 in 4 chance to use a burst fire ability with any automatic weapon. This burst is a threat to all things in the direction of fire. Now lastly comes the rating. We gave Ian a rating of 5 out of 10 and gave him the title of Accidental Traitor. Overall, he is a decent companion, but we had to bring him down a few marks because he is just as likely to put a cap in your ass as the enemies.
Up next, we have a heaven-sent dog who is delivered upon a pile of corpses to curse you just for being near it. A personal, hand-delivered fuck you. Its stats don't matter at all outside the fact it has 750 HP and a 40% damage resistance. Though speaking of stats, this dog definitely has the lowest stats of any character in the series, having a combined special score of 12. This dog is so cursed there's no surefire way to recruit it. When you're nearby him, you'll passively have luck checks running in the background, and if you fail one, he'll just automatically join your party. When he's in your party, he'll gift you with 2 things. He'll set your luck down to 1, or 2 if you have the gifted perk, and he will give you the jinxed debuff. This makes it so you will critically fail more, often alongside everyone else around you. And as said before, stats don't matter with this dog, mostly because he will refuse to fight, and he'll just run to the corner of the map. We decided to give Pariah Dog the title of Ticket to Hell, because it is one of the only companions that will only leave you when it dies. It is truly your friend till the end.
This time, for the quote, we got a little creative and decided to quote a player who knows what is about to happen. Get the fuck away from me, you fucking dog! And now here is a description of this walking suicide note. This dog is a random encounter. Reload a save immediately if it joins your party. It is absolutely not worth the crippling debuffs to you and your party. This thing is a menace and a curse to your playthrough if you choose to keep it with you. Great for a hardcore playthrough though, I will give him that. And now here is a little bit of trivia for this dog, if you can call it that at this point. In real life, a pariah dog is a name given to a kind of free-range dog that occupies an ecological niche. They are often found stray and or feral. Now the rating we give this asshole is a -10 out of 10 living fucking tumor. This dog is the definition of God wanted me to live and it is your problem now. This is a warning. This isn't a review. This is just a warning. If you play this game and you see this dog, reload a fucking save.
And yet another one to go over. This time we have the female version of Preston Garvey. In the same game, no less. Gender swapped and white. She's equally as annoying as Preston Garvey, if not more so. Now, looking onto her stats, you would think she is an amazing companion, having one of the best all-around stats of any companion in the series. Sadly, she forgot to use any of them. I guarantee you on almost any playthrough, you would not be able to tell that she has a 10 in charisma or an 8 in intelligence. She displays neither of these at any time throughout the entire story. Well, except for the part where she can find synths pretty well. And moving on to the pros, she is the 3rd easiest to recruit in the game, right behind Dogmeat and Preston Garvey himself. On top of that, of course, is again the high stats, and that she's easily recruitable. She is very easily obtained, and perhaps grabbable. Now onto the cons. We don't have many of those, but that's simply because I condensed them down. First off, she has terrible starting gear, even for an early game companion, that being a 10mm pistol and a trench coat. a trench coat that is not nearly as good as Valentine's. She also has a very mediocre perk, giving you an extra 100% XP on charisma checks or successful dialogue, which if you're doing a charisma build, you don't really need to level up. You're already not playing the game. And you also get extra XP on newly discovered location, which, again, it's something, I guess. Lastly, of course, though, for the con, she has a terrible personality. She's known to lie, cheat, and overall take advantage of anyone and everyone in her way. She's one of the least charming people you'll ever meet in the Fallout series.
All of this together, we decided to give her the title of Orphan Activist, because even ever since she was a kid, she has been just a worse version of Nick Valentine, playing detective and solving her dad's murder. As a quote, we have the following.
You can't stop the press, but they try.
And as a piece of trivia for our favorite unofficial feminist, we have this. Piper's interactions with the mayor of Diamond City seem to be inspired by those of Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein from the famous Watergate scandal. This trivia is supported by the fact that the mayor uses a mock version of the "I am not a crook" Nixon speech, this version being "I am not a synth." With that out of the way, we move on to the description. Piper is a journalist that you can recruit as a follower from Diamond City soon after gaining entrance to said city and agreeing to do an interview. Some love her, most hate her, and overall she's either mid or terrible in most cases when it comes to overall personality and backstory. However, she is at least decently good at her job in the story exposing synths, how they are operating. And lastly, for her rating, I feel like we're being very, very generous here. But we went ahead and gave her a 4 out of 10, banned from the funny pages. By God, if her voice actor was trying to be the most insufferable human being to ever exist, then she succeeded. However, if she was trying to make a legitimately likable character, she failed. Piper is both useless in the story and as a companion. If I had to pick between Piper and the stealth suit from Fallout New Vegas, who was nearly equally annoying to help me survive a super mutant raid, I'd rather put an apple in my mouth and charge the super mutants.
Here we have Daromaras, Tavasktvir, the beautiful. She, I may not be the strongest there is, or the luckiest. However, I'll tell you, I can run for days, whether it be through the forests or through the fields. This is further helped by my thick fur, protecting me from the weather. This one is also rather proficient at picking pockets, and, to be fair, I cannot hold these things called gowons, or use these things called computers. But this one can still be quite useful with her claws. Too bad most wear metal armor, and all of the Nords don't speak Nordic like they do back in Skyrim. Everyone keeps calling this one something. Vilorchik persevek vertazareth. Anyways, if you see me around the wasteland, you might hear this one say, "Do you have any skooma for a fellow traveler?" As for a rating, this one obviously gets a perfect 10 out of 10.
Star Paladin Cross, the diversity hire of the Brotherhood of Steel, and the only companion you can get from them in Fallout 3. Boasting a weird variety of stats and seeming like a Forrest Gump reference with her horrifically low intelligence for whatever reason. She has good endurance, agility, and perception. This makes it so she can run well, see well, and take decent amounts of hits. Her charisma and intelligence, on the other hand, leave much to be desired. You see, having an intelligence of 3 back in Fallout 1 or 2 will quite literally only grant you with special ed dialogue choices that make you sound like the sped kid back in school. But because Fallout 3 was a rushed, half-baked ass game, we didn't get anything special with this special kid.
Moving on to the pros, Cross has the best armor of any companion in the game, that being the T-45 power armor. Being a lawful good person, you can also kill her and sell her ear for a pretty nice price. On top of that, she is a ranged specialist, able to use nearly any weapon in the game. She also has an absolutely insane damage resistance of 32%, though sadly this doesn't really give her more survivability than the quote, non-humans after the Broken Steel DLC buff. Sadly, that's all we really have for her on the pro side, so moving on to the cons to balance it out, her damage resistance doesn't matter because she has fairly thin skin, metaphorically and literally. If you insult James, she will just leave, can't even insult your own dad, and you won't ever be able to recruit her again. Being part of the Babies of Steel, of course, you can only recruit her if you are a good karma character. And unlike most other followers in Fallout 3, if you lose enough karma, she'll just leave. The last things for the negative is that if you kill the Brotherhood of the Steel, she will turn hostile against you.
Mixing all of this together, we decided to give her the title of Wasteland Knight. Not much personality, but she is a damage sponge. With that out of the way, we go to the quote.
"There is a foul stench on the wind. Let us not tarry for long."
Moving on to the end game, we have her trivia. Coupled with her low intelligence, she prefers to use melee weapons despite not being proficient in them, not having any tag skills for any form of melee combat. For a description of her, we have the following. Star Paladin Cross is a follower you can recruit at the Citadel as long as you have good karma, and have made it inside the base itself. And of course, don't insult James. She's with the Brotherhood, and comes with T-45 power armor to start. She also has a super sledge and a laser pistol. Now lastly, for the rating, we gave her a 6 out of 10 Forgotten Knight. Because honestly, you could definitely completely forget about this character. She only really appears towards the end of the game, and by that point, you already have companions you care about infinitely more than her. On top of that, like most Fallout 3 companions, she has nearly no personality or redeeming qualities. Funny enough, I think most people would prefer her to be a mumbling sped kid rather than having no personality. Because remember kids, the greatest sin is being born, not being a bad person. Boom! Headshot. We have the Red Beret sniper that is barely old enough to drink and won't stop talking about his dead wife. Boone. Boasting terrible charisma because, again, all he talks about is his dead wife, and he also doesn't have great intelligence either. He's overall a solid character in every other stat, making it so that he may not be good at conversations or Sudoku, but he can definitely land a shot. A few pros about this little guy is the fact that he has pretty decent starting gear, has both a hunting rifle and a machete to cover long and short range, and he also starts with decent armor that he can wear pretty well. Now on to his cons. Even in death, he cannot stop talking about his dead wife, having a note on him upon death that talks about her, because of course he has a note on him about her. His character's loyalties are also on a balancing act where the Legion cannot love you and the NCR cannot hate you, otherwise he will leave. On top of that, it is nice that he gives a warning regarding Legion areas. But after that warning, even if you are trying to sneak or avoid the enemy, Boone will always attack Legion members. As a last con, he has a pretty terrible perk, that being Spotter, which gives the player a passive ability to see targets highlighted in red while aiming down sights. Note that this perk does not work on cloaked enemies such as Nightkin, so there's hardly any real point.
Given everything about this character from the highs to the lows, we gave him the title of Sniper Man, which is about as two-dimensional as himself. On to the quote, we have this little bit from the game.
"Life has a way of punishing you for the mistakes you make."
And with that generic NPC dialogue done, we have a little bit of trivia. But don't worry, it's not that interesting either. Boone loved killing. In all of his endings, he kills a lot of damn people. And now, even though you probably know it since he's one of the most popular NPCs in New Vegas, here's his description. Boone is a follower you can recruit in Novak by doing a quest for him that involves finding the killer of his wife so he can pop a cap in their ass. Or head, really. He is an ex-NCR sniper who is really good at his job and has a lengthy quest line involving his troubled past. Now lastly, we gave him the ranking of 7 out of 10, my wife. Being the superstar of New Vegas, we had to rank him fairly high, despite his pretty long list of downsides. I'd especially say the younger you are, the cooler you think he is. All of the guys who played in high school loved this guy. After that, not so much.
And now we have the most uncomfy of boys, ruiner of tiled floors, Robodog. Boasting really good stats except for a few categories, namely being charisma and intelligence. This is overall a decent appliance / dog. And with its metal chompers, it has a 115% unarmed skill. Boost that with its metal exoskeleton, giving it 97 HP, which is quite a lot in this game, by the way. Actually a decent tank for its size, too. And somehow, despite everything, it is built to be EMP immune. Its EMP resistance is so high, it's kind of a moot point or joke at this point at 500%. They could have stopped at 100, maybe 200%, but they chose not to, so fuck it. Sadly, there are a few things going against it. It can't really bark, it has basically no charisma thanks to its horrifying appearance, namely the, red eyes. You'd be surprised with it being made out of metal and having high HP. It doesn't actually have very high armor, and it has rather low crit chance. Rounding all that together, we decided to give this dog the title of Robojaw, since its main purpose is biting things, of course.
Yes, and as for a quote this creature, we have my ears! And as for a little add-on to its horrifying sounds and appearance, we have a description of it right here on the poster. Robodog is found in the NCR and can be recruited by testing a mutagenic serum on a supermutant. After that, the owner, who is Dr. Henry, hands the dog over to you. Now, this dog is not much better than any of the others, and in fact, pretty mid compared to the likes of Dogmeat and Canine. And with the description out of the way, let's go over some horrible trivia about Robodog. Robodog was canonically killed after Fallout 2 by the NCR scientists attempting to disassemble it and learn its secrets. And lastly, just like we told you about the canonical ending, we gave it the title Disassembly Required, 3 out of 10.
Next up in the arena, we have your favorite tomboy druggie, Cait. She overall has very solid stats, making it so you can really tell that she is one of the champions of the arena, aka the battle zone, or the combat zone, whatever it's called in Fallout 4. It'll be on screen. Her two best stats are perception and agility. Moving on to Cait's good side, whatever the hell that is, she again has amazing stats. She starts off with a pretty nice shotgun, and don't forget, of course, that she is down to fuck any time. It's not even a joke, it comes up in dialogue. She's one of the most flirtatious companions in the entire series, in fact, and overall, I may not know the voice actors very well, but she can definitely play a meth head extremely well. The last of her pros is since she is so acquainted with drugs, she's one of the few companions who will actively use them to help her in fights, which is incredibly rare in the entire series, surprisingly. Watch out, she will use all of the drugs you give her as well, so don't give her any if you do not want that at all. Now moving on to her bad side, which seems to be most of her face, she has two terrible perks associated with her that give you extra AP regeneration when you have less than 25% of your current health. Her other perk is basically just being able to lockpick, which other companions are better at, such as Nick Valentine. And you should be better at it as well, since you're playing the game. Then there's the last problem. Despite being the champion of the arena, when she joins you, she starts with nothing but her shotgun and some leather armor, meaning you're gonna have to give her something to help her survive longer. Maybe some power armor, maybe just a better weapon, or hell, maybe even just slap some combat armor on her.
Old Katie over here, we decided that she deserved the title of Druggy Fist, on account of the fact that she'll pop more steroids than Arnold if she needs to win a fight. And as for a quote, we have this right here.
If you're feeling tired, we could always find a bed.
Now, as you know, all older women have a dark past behind them, especially your grandma. So here we have the trivia. Cut dialogue from Tommy Longa indicates that the player would have to fight Cait to be able to recruit her as a companion initially. Now, with that out of the way, we have a little description of Cait. Cait is a follower that you can recruit at the combat zone, after having killed all of the raiders there, who happen to be Tommy's customers. However, Tommy takes this opportunity to pay both of you and offer Cait to go with you in order to get her off of his hands. She's a drug addict who specializes in melee combat and is overall just fucking around. And as a final note, we decided to give her a rating of 6.5 out of 10. Liquor for liquor. She overall has good stats, good voice acting, and knows how to have a good time. But honestly, she just doesn't have a major role in the story, and her associated quest wasn't super interesting, so we decided to mark her down a few points.
Next up, we have a creature feature. This proves that radiation either slowly melted everyone's brain, or Goris is very, very sneaky. We have Goris the Deathclaw, who somehow, by wrapping a leather blanket around him, can pretend to be human. Overall, he has amazing stats, partially because he's a literal fucking Deathclaw, but the only thing he is really truly lacking at is charisma. That is, of course, to be very much expected, as I would not want to talk to a Deathclaw either. As for pros, his skin is equivalent to combat armor. He gets 3 stats up to 10, and somehow his unarmed is not maxed out, sadly, but it still reaches 170%. The last 2 things positive about him is the fact he can carry a lot due to his high strength, and he, of course, terrifies kids. You may wonder why that's a positive, but if you're not willing to deal with a crying baby before the apocalypse, I can definitely tell you that you're not going to want to deal with one after it.
Sadly, onto the cons, he's an orphan. And as a result of being an outcast to society, he doesn't have great social skills, so he's a bit dramatic. As a result of being a Deathclaw, there isn't exactly any weapons or armor that he can use. And then again, there aren't many weapons more effective than the claws he was born with. Oh, and there is a recruitment glitch that gets him stuck forever depending on whether or not the game hates you, where he will forever be trying to go to the vault where his family dies and leave your party, even if he's already standing in the very vault. As for a description for Big Spooky, we had the following. Goris is an intelligent and talking Deathclaw who you can recruit by talking to him in Vault 13, as long as your intelligence is not too low. He is a member of a Deathclaw pack seen in Vault 13. Of course, if you turn on these Deathclaws, he will fight you alongside them. And as a tidbit of trivia for Goris, we have this. He is the first and only proper Deathclaw follower to appear in Fallout canonically. Lastly, as a rating, we gave him an 8 out of 10, with the rating title of Swole Outcast. Similar to a moody teenager, he has 2 wolves inside of him. Too bad he ate both of them a long time ago.
Fawkes, one of the most lovable super mutants in the entire series. As for companions, I'd say it's a 3-way tie between Marcus, Grandma Lily, and himself. But don't think I'm downplaying our man here. Fawkes has amazing strength and endurance, with the only thing he lacks being intelligence. It's terrible, like every other Fallout 3 companion for whatever reason. He also cannot see if his life depended on it, which is probably why he uses a Gatling laser. But hey, one of his pros is the fact he has a Gatling laser and a super sledge. On top of that, since he is technically not human, he gets that DLC health buff. Fawkes gets a 6 times HP boost, and he overall has a higher base HP than any other character in the game. Complete chonker. Being a super mutant, he is completely immune to radiation and has a massive carry weight. But as everyone, he does have negatives, and he is not perfect. One of those negatives appears when you first talk to him. If you give him anything at all, any item, before progressing in the story, he will delete those items from his inventory the next time you see him. Pretty shitty. Also, given his massive frame and the pretty terrible AI of Fallout 3, Fawkes can be fairly prone to blocking doorways entirely. On top of that, he does know 100% what he wants, as he will only equip certain weapons. Lastly, not only do you need a DLC to beat the game without dying or sacrificing someone else, Fawkes will actually shit-talk you if you choose not to kill yourself at the end of vanilla Fallout 3. But, mixing everything together, we gave him the title of Absolute Unit, because he is one. In a 1v1, nobody else in Fallout 3 could take him, not even behemoths.
And moving on to his quote, we decided to show off his gentle nature.
It's amazing that people trust you enough not to attack me.
For trivia, apparently the whole reason why he is named Fawkes is a reference to Guy Fawkes from V for Vendetta. He's even trapped in a room like V for Vendetta, further adding to the reference. As a description of this big lug, we have this. Fawkes is a super mutant follower you can recruit after saving him from Vault 87, and he'll also help you get the Gek. After escaping the Enclave base, you'll see Fawkes fighting Enclave soldiers on the way out. He'll join you, but only if your karma is high enough. As a rating, we gave him an 8 out of 10 door-to-door ass beater. Sadly, we couldn't really give him more because he just isn't in the game enough. He's a lovable character with amazing stats and amazing equipment, but with how little screen time he gets and how little we learn about him and his story, we just couldn't rate him any higher. Next up, we have the girl with an impossible name. Her first name isn't too bad, but when you put it together, most people in the entire wasteland don't have the intelligence to string those words together. And the entire string of words is this on screen. I'm not gonna say it, but you know, it's right there. I'm only gonna call her by her first name, Veronica. Veronica here overall has a pretty good set of stats, but as is fitting for her storyline, she does have a luck of 3. And if you know anything about her, that's pretty fitting. Now, why in God's name she has a charisma of 3 makes no sense. She's literally a spy merchant for the Brotherhood of Steel. Regardless of terribly assigned stats though, we go on to the pros. She has amazing unarmed damage and starts with a power fist. These things are important because they allow you to make a meta build that allows you to do massive damage with the power fist and ragdoll enemies on top of that. You can also easily stun and easily kill almost any enemy in the game with said build. Now for the negatives. Most of the things associated with Veronica are just incredibly annoying. First off, you have to be friends with the Brotherhood of Steel, a forgettable side faction in this game. Secondly, if you want to complete her main quest, you need to find her a red dress. Don't worry, there's only about 3 of them in the entire game, and one of them are in a DLC. Lastly, she's hard to find. If you look at the picture right now, she's covered in shit-stained robes in the middle of a nowhere-ass highway, and she will lie to you about her origin, making you have to pass a speech check or say the right things. So because of that, we decided to give her the title based on what she looks like, a vagrant.
Now with the quote.
Wow, don't everybody volunteer all at once now.
Would you like some context for this quote? No. Anyways, now on to the trivia. Felicia Day voiced her and did so well that she was nominated for Best Performance by a Woman at the Spike Video Game Awards in 2010. Now, in my opinion, she didn't do that well, but you know, whatever. I guess the bar was lower than expected. Now on to our next massive blurb of text, what we like to call the descriptione. Veronica is a companion you can recruit by talking to her at Trading Post 188. Very creative name for a location, by the way. You come to learn that her family is part of the Brotherhood of Steel, and most of her quests revolve around trying to help them. And we decided to end it off with a 5 out of 10 Muhammad Ali Jr. title. You may be wondering why we chose that title specifically. Well, we decided to use him because she is completely overshadowed, just like he is, by their parental figures. In this case, it's Elder Elijah for Veronica, of course, which, unlike her, would make a really interesting companion. In fact, I think he was canned. He was going to be a companion originally, but I'm not sure. And now we move on to the next follower. Here we have our good old rusty, outdated go-go gadget synth. Our boy, Nick Valentine. Overall, looking in the stat department, outside of strength, despite being quote-unquote an old gen, he has amazing stats. Much better than the other 3 synth companions in the game, including the Courser, which is hilarious, at least to me it is. His top 3 stats being Perception, Agility, and somehow a massive 16 in Intelligence, making him one of the most intelligent characters in all of Fallout. Just all the characters, not even just companions. It kinda makes you feel like it was a little wasted with him being a rented detective in a small shack. Granted, a great detective, but still. And now, we move on to some of his pros. First of all, he's very easy to recruit, being nearly in the beginning of the game. In most playthroughs, he may be the third or so companion you meet. On top of that, he has an amazing personality, being one of the funniest and most interesting companions in the series. He also has great associated quests. Speaking of quests, he is also pretty central to the story, having unique dialogue the whole way through and helping you out throughout most of it, if not the entire story if you want him to, which is great. On top of that, because he's a synth, he starts off with a 25% damage resistance, which is overall pretty nice. Lastly, seemingly more than any other character, he has special dialogue interactions. Being hated by over half the wasteland due to his nature, he has a lot of different quips to say.
No machine should have free will.
Why? You jealous you had to turn yours in?
Now, with all that you just said out of the way, nobody's perfect, so we're moving on to the cons. Starting off, he has a very mediocre perk, that being able to hack terminals one extra time, and having a 50% reduction in lockout time. On top of that, he has pretty terrible starting gear. He is an early game companion, but I think it still needs to be mentioned. All he has to his name is a trench coat and a .45 caliber pipe pistol. Lastly, this robot is a very picky dresser, only wearing his classic trench coat or any type of power armor. But rounding everything off, we decided to give him the title of Old-Fashioned Sleuth. And showing off his amazing dialogue, we have one of his quotes here.
You'd be shocked how many folks I've managed to convince I'm just a really sick ghoul.
On to his trivia. Valentine is known to quote many different historical figures throughout the game, such as Edgar Allan Poe, William Shakespeare, and J. Robert Oppenheimer. And lastly, before we get on to his rating, we have his description. Nick Valentine is a follower you can recruit after doing one of the quests in the main storyline. It's the one where you search for someone to help you find Sean, and help him escape a vault full of wannabe mobsters. He is an excellent follower to have around, is overall an amazing experience and adds a lot to Fallout 4. He's decently tanky also. Lastly, for his ranking, we gave him the one and only 10 out of 10 and gave him the title Noir Fetishist. Overall, if any character deserves it, Nick deserves it. He has a fun aesthetic, amazing stats, and is overall required in the story, and is one of the most likable characters in the series. Moving on from the dogs, we have another subhuman creature, aka a ghoul. The first, but sadly not the last on this list. As for stats, Lenny is pretty run-of-the-mill, and his charisma is terrible, having a face only Skeletor would find attractive. He does boast very good intelligence, being a doctor and all, and of course associated with this, he has a very good doctor and first aid abilities. That, and for some reason he is very tanky. Now, being a half-rotted corpse, he does have a few problems, that mainly being that he stutters a lot, smells like ass, and constantly complains. And when you try to recruit him, he basically has nothing but the shirt on his back. Technically, most of those are superficial downsides, so we just ended up giving him the title of Tanky Doctor.
Speaking about his stuttering problem, we have a quote that puts this on display clear as day. Gotta get a bigger gun. As a description for our radiation huffing friend, we have Lenny is a companion you can quite easily recruit in Gecko, and this is inside Harold's house by the nuclear power plant. Just speak to him and he will explain that he missed the opportunity to travel with the Vault Dweller. You can then offer him to join you instead. Now for a little bit of ghoul-loving trivia, we have the following. The player was supposed to be able to turn Lenny into a glowing one with copious amounts of Gamma Gulp beer and Rotigen rum. The feature was scrapped though. Now lastly, for good old Doc, we gave him a rating of 6 out of 10 and dubbed him the ghoul around town, because we couldn't think of anything better, to be honest.
Here we have Dogmeat, or as I like to call him, Pidgey. This is because he is one of the most common companions we have, that of course being dogs. If Dogmeat was a normal companion, he would be terrible, but since he isn't, he has all the essentials for any dog, that being easily recruitable, and he doesn't care if you're a good or bad person. That being said, he is rocking pretty abysmal stats, doesn't follow any commands, somehow has low biting strength, And lastly, couldn't find his way out of a corn maze if you had a line of treats leading to the exit. That is, of course, to say that his pathfinding is absolute dog shit.
Now, what is the best thing that Dogmeat is good at and is known for? Being a dog, of course, and that is why we gave him the title of Doggo. In regards to a description, we have the following from the poster. Dogmeat is a companion that you find harassing a man in Junktown. You simply recruit the dog by either wearing a leather jacket or by giving him food in the form of iguana on a stick. This companion cannot be given orders. He will simply follow you around forever until death. This dog has seen the worst that the wasteland has to offer and still chooses to stand by your side. Now, as for the trivia we have on Dogmeat, Dogmeat, just like two other companions, has canonically died in the lore. He dies the same way that he usually does in-game. Energy field vaporization. Anyways, we are giving the dog a 6 out of 10 with the title of Middest Boy, given it doesn't seem to specialize in anything at all except biting people. Even then, it is not the best at that.
Here we have a candidate for Fallout 3's biggest loser. Butch, a worm of a man that is barely able to achieve even average in his stats, only having 4 in endurance, and just being literally average in everything else. The only pros we were able to find for him is the fact that he's actually a pretty good barber. Sadly, in an action-based RPG, that's not really the main skills we're looking for. Keep in mind, he's generally a good person, so you have to give him that at least. You also have to give him the fact that you can sell his ear. Now, as a negative, we decided to go a little easy on him. But here's what we have. He is actually one of the only characters in the game that actually needs ammo to fire his weapon. Now, mind you, he doesn't need constant ammo. He just needs 1 bullet of the same ammo type as the gun to fire infinitely, which no one else needs. On top of that, he's a late game character that starts with terrible gear. But I can forgive all of that if at the end of the day he wasn't a complete coward who was willing to let his mother die to some roaches.
Now, because of all of that, we decided to give him the title of Baby Dick. And with an endurance like that, he won't be able to use it too well. Speaking of small dicks, we have a quote related to his boy band.
Tunnel snakes rule!
For trivia, of course, the only thing interesting about this man is his name. And even then, it is niche as all hell. That being associated with a Native American tribe called the Dakota tribe. Don't worry, we're almost there. On to the description of this man. Butch is a follower you can recruit late game after coming back to Vault 101 to do the quest Trouble on the Home Front. Butch has to survive, of course, and you will find him in Rivet City in the Muddy Rudder afterwards. He's an overall basic character that you originally met in the intro sequence of the game. Mixing everything together here, we gave him his final rating of 3 out of 10.
Hey, who's that handsome guy?
Greaser Pack Mule. Because this guy is an embarrassment to anyone even pretending to be in a gang.
Now on to a washed up war vet. We have MacCready, one of the biggest glowdowns in the series. He overall does have very good stats, but he just doesn't put many of them to use at all. If you decide to recruit him as a companion, he does have a few upsides to counter his many downsides. First of all, he is a companion that will give you a random item. His random item type is ammunition. On top of that, he has a decent perk, which gives you an extra 10% accuracy on fast headshots. But moving on to the not so favorable things about him, other than that goatee, he only has a 40 in small guns and speech, which means he's charismatic, but can't talk. And he's both agile and lucky, but can't shoot a gun worth a damn, despite being able to do it when he was a child. Also, just like John Hancock, he is a mid to late game companion, with the additional downside being the fact that you have to buy him. You have to buy dog shit.
For his title, we decided to give him I'm a Big Kid Now, mostly to further highlight his mythical fucking downfall from when he was a literal child in Fallout 3. And now we move on to his quote.
Let's be careful. No human being would possibly pile books this way.
With that out of the way, with him apparently being scared of ghosts when he's fought literal super mutants, let's move on to the trivia. The quote used here is a Ghostbuster reference from the 1984 movie specifically. He also has a similar name to the protagonist of 1982's The Thing. And now with the trivia out of the way, let's look into his description. Robert MacCready is a follower you can recruit in Good Neighbor by paying for his services. He is the same exact MacCready from Fallout 3, but of course all grown up now as a mercenary for hire. And sadly we come to the rating. We gave him a very generous 6 out of 10 washed up merc. We don't know what the horrors of the wasteland did to this man, but he ran away from where he was born and ended up in a druggy town with nothing left to his name other than a dead wife and a cool hat. The chain-smoking, bondage-enjoying, bright white teeth grandma. We got Lily. Strong as an ox and faster than the courier, but sadly boasting both terrible perception and intelligence. As some pros, she has 6 separate tag skills, which is absolutely massive in New Vegas, by the way, as most companions have either 2 or even 0 tag skills, and the player has 3, at least as far as we could find on the wiki. She even has the best starting skill, with everything starting out at 80, except for Sneak, which is, already a big thing. This means she is one of the best at any skill compared to anyone else from the get-go. Being a super mutant, her skin has the same durability of Boone's coat, meaning she has decent damage resistance alongside her already high health pool. Making her a real bruiser, she also has an unarmed of 3.5, meaning compared to other characters such as Butch from Fallout 3, she has 3 times the melee damage as him. She does have some cons though, that being her falling into a berserker rage, not listening to anybody at low health. It's also morally dubious to have her tag along at all in the first place, given the fact that you have to gaslight her into either taking more or less pills, and pull her away from her peaceful gardening life thinking about her grandkids, only to go around the outdoors beating people to death.
Just like the 2019 North Carolina nursing incident, where they held retirement home fight clubs with 70-year-old dementia patients, we have a dementia-riddled Nightkin with a higher running speed than the player and an awful temper. We decided to give her the title of Olympic Killer. Despite her terrifying chain smoker-like voice, Lily does have some nice grandma-like quotes, like this one.
Come here, little one. Give Grandma Lily some sugar.
Now here we have some trivia that dives a little bit deeper into the reason why we call her Grandma. It's not just because she is a grandma, but she is one of the oldest characters in the series. So here it is. Lily is one of the few characters in all of Fallout that not only survived Fallout 1 and 2, but also made it to other Fallout titles. Now for the description, though you better know it by heart already. Lily is a Nightkin follower that you can recruit upon talking to her at Jacobstown. She will tell you about her grandkids, her friend Leo, and the Master if you ask about it. She suffers from schizophrenia and needs to take meds for it. She is arguably one of the most interesting backstories in New Vegas, his list of followers, and we decided to give her a rating of 9 out of 10, and named her All-Purpose Grandma. It hurts my heart not to give her a 10 out of 10, but she just doesn't reach that peak. She has a great backstory, has a horrible moral dilemma for the player, and is all around amazing in combat, much like Sulik from Fallout 2. But she just doesn't have the interactivity or complexity a lot of the other companions throughout the wasteland to reach that mark, like a lot of Fallout 4 companions. If she was in Fallout 4, she'd be better than Valentine.
Up next, we have Katja from the Boneyard. Looking at her, I know she's not quite the looker per se, but she is quite a looker. This being because of her high perception and intelligence. Sadly, other than above average charisma, she's either average or falls short in everything else. Despite her low strength, she has high unarmed, melee, and throwing skills. She's good at lockpicking too, if you know what I mean. No, seriously, she's just good at lockpicking. You cannot even marry her. It's not an option.
Now, sadly, she does have some terrible things about her, such as hating dogs and not being able to use a large amount of ranged weapons that are in the game. This is on top of having one of the most crippling downsides, that being that she is very fragile. Somehow, despite having a 5 in endurance, Katja has less health than any other companion in the game, including the dogs. She starts out with a pathetic 39 HP, which is 21 HP below the final character on this list.
Even with her small amount of HP, her skills have earned the small but nice title of Unarmed Champion, just like Ian earlier, or alternatively Glass Fist if we want to be more unique. Now, if you meet her out in the wasteland, you might hear her say her famous line, that being, "I've seen a rat with 3 eyes once." That's all I know about mutants. As for a little more information regarding Katja, we shall refer to the poster's description. Katja is a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse that you meet in Boneyard. You can recruit her by asking her if she wants to join you. It is very easy to recruit her because she hates where she is living. Now, we also have some trivia for Katja. Seems to hate just about everything in the wasteland, having dialogue such as "I don't like dogs" and "I don't like kids." How depressing.
We shall give Katja the rating of 5 out of 10, with the title Glass Baseball Bat. She is mid with her punches. If only she could actually hit someone without going down every fight. Once a normal woman, our girl Clover has been turned into the perfect machine. She'll kill for you, she'll sleep with you, and she'll do everything she's ordered to do other than end her own life. She has pretty middling stats, though she is pretty strong, fast, and decently charismatic. A few reasons you might want to keep this pretty little thing with you is she has no karma requirements. That and the collar that she has gives her a little bit of extra armor. She somehow also has the highest carrying capacity of any human companion in the game. And she starts off with pretty decent gear, that being a sawed-off shotgun and a Chinese officer sword. Now, along with any slave that you get, there will be some drawbacks. With this one, you're going to have to be evil enough to deal with slavers. And since she very much does enjoy being a slave, you'll have to buy her. Now, even though she is a slave, don't feel bad for her because she is just straight up evil. So if she ends up dying in one way or another, you can sell her finger because again, she's not a good person. With that though, we decided to give her a title of slave.
Now, as a quote from her, we got this right here.
"You're always welcome to take whatever you want, lover."
And as trivia for her, we got the following. She is part of a secretive class hidden in the game files simply known as Slaver. And with that out of the way, we move on to the description. Clover is a follower that can be found at Paradise Falls. You can buy her from her master, Eulogy, for 1,000 caps, or 500 caps if you have good barter. She is a completely brainwashed slave, and you have to work with slavers to get her. As we always do, lastly, we have the rating. If you mix together the fact that she has no skills for any heavy weaponry, has a terrible haircut, no seriously, that shit's atrocious, has no real personality other than just being flirty and makes you talk to slavers, we put her at a fairly generous, honestly, 5 out of 10. Would not rent again. Here we have a big brawler, one of the toughest, meanest, and most diplomatic characters that could ever be called a companion of yours. Marcus is one of the top contenders for best stats in the game. The whole game, in fact. Actually, in fact, the whole ass series, only having poor charisma at 3. His second lowest stat is a 7 in intelligence, and it is only up from there. As for more pros on this character, we have the fact that his skin counts as armor to the point that when you have him checked medically, you find a whole armory of bullets in his skin that you can still use somehow, despite them being fired. Unless it is implied that he is just shoving bullets into his skin as storage. This man is truly the ideal super mutant, besides behemoths of course. Having maxed out strength and endurance, having a minigun just to start out with, and then having a 40% damage resistance, he is just peak performance. Now sadly he does have a few downsides, aka only 2, those 2 being his low charisma despite being a diplomat, and the fact that he is just the local menace in town by his nature of being a big fuck-off super mutant.
We decided to give him the prestigious title of Mordaka, as he would fit in moderately well with the Warhammer orcs. For his quote, since you probably can't read on the poster, we have him read it out himself.
That was Jacob, from the Brotherhood of Steel. He'd sworn some oath to destroy muties. We tussled for a while. Probably a day or two. After a while, we just started laughing. What was the point?
As for a little description of the man, we have this here. Marcus is a super mutant and self-proclaimed sheriff of the Broken Hills in Fallout 2. You can recruit him after helping him take care of the town. You do need enough intelligence and good karma to do so, though. He is definitely a formidable companion to have given his nature. And lastly, since I know you're jonesing for more big and green, we have some trivia. Makes a Star Trek reference on occasion when hit. He says, "I'm not a merry mutant." Makes a Dr. Seuss reference when attacking using unarmed. One fist, two fist, red fist, blue fist. Of course, to end things off as usual, we have the rating, and we gave him a 7 out of 10 with the title Mutant Diplomat. Now, we may love Marcus, and he may be one of the most efficient killers in the Wasteland, but he just doesn't have the pizzazz to have a higher rating. We have Tycho from Junktown, an absolute beast with his lowest stat being an average in charisma and luck. He has amazing HP and can provide special drinks when you first talk to him. And if you join him for a drink, he'll provide you with a Nuka-Cola. This gives you a permanent +5 in outdoorsman skill. Sadly, he does come with a few cons, such as being a bootlicker, aka a Texas Ranger. He also starts out with the Friendly Fire Buckshot Edition, aka the shotgun. Having both good unarmed and melee skills, he has earned the title of Stabby Professional.
As can be interpreted from his fighting prowess, he's not the nicest of guys, one of his quotes being, "Sorry to disturb your private time, go wank somewhere else." Now, as a description of this man, here in the poster, we have the following. Tycho is found at the Scum Pit in Junktown, and you can recruit him after you deal with the Gizmo quest. You simply have to talk to him in the bar and then ask if he wants to join you on your quest. Now, we also got some trivia from the poster that states the following. The creators of Fallout say in some ways that Tycho is reminiscent of Master Yuda from Nazcla and the Valley of the Winds. Lastly, as a rating, yes, we gave him 7 out of 10. Chunky boy, as he could absolutely molest any other companion on this list first in a 1v1.
Now, as another piece of trivia, he is the only Texas Ranger companion. Now we move over to the only British person I can stand, and he's the best type of British person, one that doesn't need to breathe. Here we have Codsworth, boasting absolutely mythical stats, being stronger, faster, and smarter than your average person, especially British person. This isn't your Fallout 3 Mr. Handy. Somehow, this dedicated butler robot has the highest intelligence of any character in the entirety of Fallout, having a whopping 16 intelligence. Nobody is anywhere near the intellect of Codsworth. Not that he uses it at all. Again, he's just a butler. Onto some of Codsworth's pros, though. He is one of the only companions that can potentially say your name. He does actually have pre-programmed responses, so if you input a compatible name, he will address you as such. He is also the earliest companion to recruit in Fallout 4, basically being at the doorstep right outside of the tutorial area. And Codsworth has an amazing perk. It gives you plus 10% energy resistance against energy weapons or robots permanently. Now, sadly, this robot butler does have some negatives. First of all, he cannot switch out any of the weapons he has, and he can't put on any type of armor. But he can put on a bowler hat. That won't help him in a fight, but secondly and lastly, no matter how loyal he is, he doesn't want to take my schmeat, and that's a downside.
Now, as for a title, we settled on Pre-War Butler, because man, you've been watching this video for a long time. I think you can tell that the creativity is slowly draining from us at this point. Anyways, for a quote, we have this.
The past, the present, and the future walked into a bar. It was tense.
Now for the trivia for this Terminator baby raiser. One of the few robot NPCs in the entire series that actually acknowledges the Great War at all. And then lastly, right before we get onto the ranking, let's give you the description as per usual. Codsworth is the main character's pre-war butler that you can recruit as soon as you leave the vault after doing a very brief quest looking for the other parent and Sean. At least Codsworth believes you're looking for both. Now for a rating, we gave him 7.5 out of 10, all reliable. Again, he is a lovable character with a beautiful voice actor and is just overall a great companion. But again, not relevant to the story, doesn't provide much, isn't customizable. There's just certain things making it so he couldn't cut it to reach the higher ranking.
Jolly G, the king is here. The king of the Mexicans. We have Raul, our Spanish-speaking ghoul. He has pretty good stats overall, and probably only has low charisma due to his god-awful appearance. But overall, he is quite pleasant. He is probably one of the most charismatic followers in the series. Looking at the highlights of Captain Mexico, we have these. He starts off with 3 tag skills, that being repair, gun, and science. All of these at 90. On top of that, having him as a companion will allow you to get one of the best companion perks in the game. Now, we don't know whether to list it as a pro or a con, but you can go down different paths. It's not clear cut because one is way better than the other. Now we move on to the cons. He does talk a lot throughout your adventures, and I vote he probably has some of the most dialogue in the game. Now, that's not too bad, but once his dialogue recycles, it gets pretty boring. Now, as for recruitability department, that's where Raul completely fails. Due to the fact that you have to fight off a small army of both super mutants, nightkins, and Tabitha in order to reach this man. The other and the last con is the fact that Raul's main job is being a repairman. So it doesn't make any sense that you have to dismiss him for him to repair anything of yours. And that basically means you have to follow him around back to his shack to get him to repair any of your items.
With everything put together, we decided to give him the title of Decaying Handyman. For his quote, we made sure to add a special one that includes him saying the same title another character calls a player in an earlier title, Fallout 2, and says obsessively when you're not around.
Sure, boss. The old man will crawl around in the dirt to keep hidden.
Next, because he is an immigrant, we have to make sure everybody knows it. Here is his trivia. Voiced by Danny Trejo. Has a Wastelanders reference. He is given a stereotypical voice in every language but English. Now into the final quarter, we have a description of the Rot Monkey. Raul is a follower that you can recruit by rescuing him from Black Mountain. He's a pre-war ghoul with a very long history and a very long companion quest. Ex-gunslinger and presently a repairman. And lastly, as a rating for our man, since all creativity has left my body and there is only racism left, we gave him an 8 out of 10 with the title of Taco Gunslinger. This is mainly because of his long history of being a traveling gunslinger, and that he is one of those, ghouls. Here we have an absolute menace to wasteland society. Davin, the god of sex. Somehow, even though being able to canonically bang for up to 2 hours, he has surprisingly low endurance, boasting extremely mid stats, 3 of which actually managed to crawl up to average. The only thing good about this man is the fact he can give an absolutely devious wienering, and that's about it. Now, as for his cons, we have cannot fight at all, horrible stats, no armor, only 2 tag skills, low crit, can't even carry much, very low HP, 7 AP, crashes the game, having sex bugs out the game sometimes, gay, hard to get rid of, and does not sell for a lot.
But again, given how good this man is at sex, we had to give him the famous title of Sex 2, revolutionizing the entire field. Despite being a very sex-loving person, he does have some odd quotes, one of them being, "I don't believe you pimped me." Now, as for a description of this poor forsaken soul, Davin is a companion that we find in Grisham's house. And you can seduce him by either being a woman or a very charismatic gay man. After that, you can get married and he will be a permanent follower. And as a little piece of trivia for our brother, we got the following. Seemingly the poster child of the sex mechanics in the game, the same mechanics that were advertised on the box, quote, fall in love, get married, and pimp your spouse for a little extra chump change. Lastly, we have our rating for our boy. We hit him with a 2 out of 10, only good for one thing. To be fair, despite having a long schlong, he's not very good at anything else, be it fighting, shooting, and again, low endurance. So he's not even good at running away. X6-88, or as I like to call him, X6-boobs. This companion has some of the best stats out of any character in the entire series. Nearly as strong, nearly impossible endurance, has amazing perception, intelligence, agility, all of it's great. Too bad if you're actually fighting him though, you'd kill him in about 12 seconds anyways. But enough about this supposed super assassin stats, let's move on to some of his pros. He has pretty good starting armor, and probably because he needs to piss every now and then, he'll occasionally give you fusion cells. And just like that, we're out of pros and on to the cons. First of all, he has a mediocre perk, which only gives you an extra 20 energy resistance, which is like 1/40th of power armor. With that, another con is him being the bad guy. He's part of the bad guy faction. And, I mean, they're not technically bad guys, but they're just so stupid that they've ruined the wasteland and killed anyone that would trust them. Honestly, I would rather trust a group of homosexual super mutants with a warehouse of mini nukes. On top of that, he has just a terrible voice. I know he's a synth made for killing, but fuck, he has a charisma of 8. And somehow he sounds like Peter Dinklage smashing a speaking spell into the ground multiple times with his tiny, tiny hands. And lastly, he was just too hyped up. Just like we said in the stats, he's a moderately hard fight at best. The only times you struggle against him is if you show up severely under-armored and unarmed. This is why we decided to give him the title of Terminator on a budget. Because man, that fight, it may be the most disappointing fight in Fallout.
Now, it took a lot of searching, and I do mean a lot, to find a decent quote. But here it is.
Look, I'm not great with words. I'm more comfortable shooting people than talking to them.
And again, just to supplement his lack of character, here is the tiny bit of trivia that we have for him. If given a stealth boy, X6 will use it in combat. If sent to a settlement, X6 will become hostile to any vertebrates in the area, including yours, because fuck you. And here is at least one of the shortest descriptions in the entire video. X688 is an Institute courser that you can recruit after joining the Institute and doing quests for them. He acts as a sort of bodyguard to the player character as you travel around the wasteland with them. And to round it off, we decided to give him a 6 out of 10 dead hype train. Honestly, I can't tell you why we gave him this high of a score. He has a terrible voice and personality, but I suppose he is important enough to the story. My wife's terrible cooking has more spice than this. I don't even have a wife.
Come over here, I got a deal for you. Would you like a crippled cybernetic war veteran dog? No? Well, too bad, Rex is yours. He has the eyes of an eagle, the endurance of a horse, and the agility of a dog with 3 legs. It's just too bad this dog is as dumb as bricks with 2 intelligence. Moving on to the pros, this baby's a mix and match professional. Since Rex's original brain is dying, if you look around the wasteland, you can find 3 different types of replacement brains to give him 3 different types of additional abilities, depending on which one you pick. He has the ability to end a specific quest early on. A quest called You'll Know It When It Happens by sniffing out a disguised assassin. Sadly, this boy does have some cons though. He is a dog, so he doesn't do much damage or have any armor. And again, he is dumb as bricks, so he doesn't listen to any orders and has pretty terrible perks overall. The best perk that you can have with a specific brain is he gets an extra 50 movement speed, but that doesn't make him attack any faster. Now, sadly, for this light post humper, we gave him the title Metal Fetcher.
And here's his quote. Now for the non-consensual trivia. Even if Rex dies during the campaign, if you have the Old World Blues DLC, Roxy, another cyberdog in the DLC, will revive him and have babies with him, making Boston terrifiers that kill everything in their wake. Next, we have the description. Rex is a dog follower that you can recruit from the king after doing a series of quests for him and earning his respect. You then do a quest to find a way to make Rex better by finding the doctor to replace his brain. He is a decent follower in combat, but nothing super notable other than some cool lore that he has. Lastly, for this dog, we gave him a 6 out of 10 with the title of Brain Roulette. This is because this dog is not special in most categories, but has a very interesting set of quests and storylines associated with him, making him one of the most interesting dogs in the series.
Surprise, surprise, another dog on the list. This one, though, is one of the best, boasting extreme agility and overall good stats outside of its charisma and intelligence. Now, you'd think a dog would have decent charisma, but, not in Fallout. This dog doesn't care if you're a monster or an amazing person. He'll follow you no matter what. That and Dogmeat's unarmed can near the maximum of 200%, slipping just shy at a 165%. Sadly, despite not caring about your karma, this dog does care who you are aligned with. This means that you have to be friendly with the NCR, or else Dogmeat will rip your balls off. Also, sadly, due to his low intelligence, he doesn't listen to orders. He is also a dog, so he can't really take bullets that well. He does have decent health, but not great armor. This means that Dogmeat can die relatively easily.
Now, of course, as a title for this boy, given his high unarmed stat and good overall stats, we call him Fetch Me Their Soul. This is due to the fact he can fairly easily capture unarmored units. Even though it's a dog, we do have a description for him. Dogmeat in Fallout 2 is technically the same character from Fallout 1, but you find them in a secret encounter known as the Cafe of Broken Dreams. He behaves mostly the same, but is significantly stronger. And some trivia for the doggo is as follows. Only non-canon follower ever. Dogmeat is a reference to 1975's A Boy and His Dog. Dogmeat was originally going to be called Dog Shit, and as a rating, we awarded him a 6 out of 10. While he may not be the best, he is definitely not the worst, landing him the rating of Solid Boy. Congratulations, Dogmeat. Charon. There's a lot to say about this half-dead bodyguard. What you can definitely say, though, is he did a great job at playing with a whopping 3 charisma, as he has jack shit in the way of conversation. I am the A few good things is the fact he has no karma requirements, and being a ghoul, he's immune to radiation, so he's one of the few that can turn on the purifier without dying at the end of the game. And he is an explosives expert, so he can actually use stuff like frag grenades decently well. Sadly for this man, that is all the positives. Now we go on to the list of negatives. You have to either buy him or kill the person that owns him in order to recruit him. He is also recruited at one of the worst spots in the entire game, because the entire area around where he is a war-torn wasteland full of super mutants, raiders, and many other horrors. And weirdly enough, despite not being a good person, he will shoot you in the back of the head if you start killing good people. As a tribute to him being one of the only people having explosive abilities, we gave him the title of Explosive Expert.
As another boring addition, we have his quote.
You are my employer, and I will do as you command.
With his trivia, though, it does get somewhat interesting, as he shares the name with a Greek ferryman that carries souls across the river Styx. But that's where all of the interesting things about him end. Here's a general description of Charon. He is a follower you can recruit in the 9th circle in the underworld. You either have to buy him for 2,000 to 1,000 caps, depending on your barter, or you can agree to kill his boss. Overall, he's a pretty standard ghoul mercenary, and there's not much else to say about him. Overall, we gave him a fair rating of 4 out of 10, as well as the title Generic Zombie Man. We don't have much of a backstory from him, and he's not much of a guy for conversation. So he's just that typical rough and tough guy, but he's a ghoul in a bad part of town. He's willing to help you if you free him, but that alone will not get him placed very high up.
Here we go, on to another man who's decided to live in the past. John Hancock. Boasting overall insane stats in everything but strength, arguably being in the top 10 most statted out companions in the entire series. Maxed out perception, agility, and above maximum intelligence. Now on to some of this man's pros. He has an absolutely amazing perk that gives you an extra 20% crit chance when your rads are over 250 or more, making for absolutely devious crit builds if you put it together correctly. Alongside that, he is one of the companions that gives you items randomly. His item type is chems, allowing you to stock up on a myriad of drugs at all times. And lastly, he's one of the funnier companions. He's known for telling jokes and overall being a very memorable character. Now on to his negatives. He honestly does not start with great gear when you first recruit him, not having anything special. This is especially with the fact that he's typically not an early game recruit. In most playthroughs, you'll have him in your party at mid to late game.
Mixing everything together, we decided to give him the title Rotting Meth Head. He's a psychopath with a heart of gold and loves himself some drugs. With that out of the way, we have his quote.
Hell, that sort of bull's the whole reason I became mayor in the first place.
Now onto the mini trivia. Cut dialogue from the first encounter with Finn mentions Hancock is dead. And moving right along onto the description, John Hancock is a follower you can recruit after helping him out doing a quest in Good Neighbor. He has a lot of things to say about everybody and makes numerous comedic comments about many locations throughout the game. Probably the most charismatic ghoul in the whole series. And to finish off Mr. Cock's section, we have a rating. 8.5 out of 10. Another dead revolutionary. He's funny, he's bold, he's memorable. But despite that, he's not really a part of the story and has no major connections to any of the important factions, which is why we couldn't give him a 10 out of 10.
Now we have Fallout's youngest companion, Eddie, a customizable super Eyebot that is just 6 years old and boasts pretty good stats overall. Just do not ask me to explain how an Eyebot has a strength of 6 or even has the concept of endurance. As for some pros for this little guy, he is upgradable, repairs your equipment like Raul, and gives you free ammo. He also counts as a workbench and has a very decent weapon. These pros altogether make him almost like multiple companions in one, as a lot of the pros of the other companions on this list are similar, just he does them all. This floating drone does not have all positives though. Sadly, he has some downsides, so he's not just a complete mechasue. Sadly, Eddie isn't a late game companion, he is an end game one. He is only fully accessible after playing through the very last DLC on the list of DLCs for the game. So sadly, all the companions will typically have Eddie for the least amount of time. He also, despite being a good weapon, he only has the one laser. It's okay, but, some variety would have been nice, or some upgradability. Lastly, not that it comes up amazingly often, but Eddie does not have a great amount of health and does not have great health scaling level-wise, at least compared to some people like Lily. As for a title for one of our best friends in the Wasteland, we gave him Ball of Love, because as infuriating as it is to play charades with a machine, no hands, he is still very lovable.
Now, as for a quote, we have one of the beeps he makes periodically. And sadly for trivia, we have next to nothing, but you can have this. Edie plays music when going into battle or achieving victory. Now moving on to something that we do have, here's the description. Edie is a companion you can find and repair in Prim, and you can go fetch upgrades for him alongside another Edie in the Lonesome Road DLC, and in the Mojave after that. He is a great and overall flexible robot companion to have. Lastly, we gave this little guy an 8 out of 10 with the title of Ponder the Orb. Honestly, we had to take off a point or two just because he can't talk, But even without that ability, he is still one of the most memorable characters in the entire series. A few months before making this video, Game Freak was put into some controversy after some very interesting files came out revealing a lot of fetishes. Here we have Pariah, Fallout 2's fetish character, that somehow got greenlit. Now, we can't say what type of fetish character she is, but it's something around the grape without the G bait type of character. So instead of using that word that would probably get the video taken down, I'll just put up a picture of Furious Rajang periodically. Oh, and don't worry, you'll see what we mean very soon. Miria has absolutely terrible stats, some of the worst in the game. And they specifically gave her 3 strength because 1 strength would be too on the nose. We seriously couldn't think of any other upsides other than the fact that she can be sold to the den for a good bit of change. As for the cons, we just have a few. So first of all, she has no skill above 50%. Remember, the max is 200%. Can only use melee, no guns allowed. Many characters have a level up system called stages, like a secret part. She doesn't have any of that. She has a 4% crit chance, has a base melee damage of 1, carries only 100 pounds, and lastly, she is stuck with a terrible 35 HP. We gave her the title of Bait because of the fact that she is the most lusted after character in the entire series, hand down. To the point that random people will catcall her, and pimps will get angry that she might steal their profits. This happens to absolutely no other character in the series, by the way. It's just crazy.
Yes, and as a quote here, we have, "You're just so cool because you're normal, just like everyone else." Yup, normal. That's me. And moving on to the description, we have, Pariah is found in Modoc and Grisham's house, and is Davin's sister, believe it or not. You can recruit her by talking to her, engaging in sexual activities, and then marrying her. As a woman, you will need high charisma. Many vile things are associated with Pariah. And to further prove the bait allegations, we have the trivia. The dev who worked on this character has an obvious fetish. A very, very obvious fetish for grape minus the G. Lastly, we gave her the ranking of 0 out of 10, target practice. 0 because there's too much of a sexual focus and you would be better off with literally anyone else in your party. There is literally nothing she can do better than anyone in the entire game, hell, probably the entire series.
The best of the best, the dog of dogs. We have Fallout 3 Dogmeat, boasting pretty ridiculous health for a dog. This boy has some pretty amazing stats, other than intelligence and luck. As for pros for this puppo, we have the DLC health buff, not caring whatever karma you have, and he counts as an animal follower, so you can have regular followers alongside him. And the real linchpin of this dog being that you can have infinite copies of himself, as he will get a perk that makes it have puppies. Also, when these puppies grow up, they're slightly stronger than their original. Now, sadly, for a few cons of this boy, it's the fact that he's in a terrible position when you find him, surrounded by raiders or super mutants, all types of things. On top of that, if you don't talk to him upon first seeing him, he'll wander around the entire map and most likely be lost forever. Some of the other cons is being low crit chance, low biting damage, and there's a feature that allows him to look for trinkets, but he might be gone for literal days looking for those items before coming back. With that combo though, we decided to give him the title of Buggy Boy, because he also has a ridiculous amount of glitches associated with him.
As for a bit of trivia, we don't have much, but we do have the fact that he was apparently seeking revenge on the people who killed his master. And again, he is the companion with the most amount of bugs tied to him in the entire game. And here you go. Have a little description for the dog. Dogmeat is a follower that you can recruit upon arriving at Scrapyard if you ever have the displeasure of doing so. You talk to the dog to recruit him, and you can see Dogmeat's dead master nearby. Now, overall, we gave Fallout 3 Dogmeat a 6 out of 10 puppy magnet, purely in reference to its replaceability and its perk. Now, if it wasn't for the DLC and its ridiculous HP buff, the best Dogmeat would be from Fallout 4, hands down. But due to this technicality, sadly, Fallout 3 Dogmeat is the best.
Next up, we have our favorite raider, Porter Gage, the Cyclopean raider that you obtain from the Nuka World DLC. Boasting overall amazing stats outside of charisma, which makes sense, he's a raider, he shoots first and asks questions never. Also ironically, he has amazing perception, despite only having one eye. Now with that out of the way, we go on to the pros. Speaking of pros, they have a very hefty amount of them. He starts with great armor, and has a cool eye patch. But at least according to the game files, he doesn't need it. He somehow has 2 working eyes under him. He also is one of the rare evil companions that doesn't care what kind of dastardly deeds you get up to. Now moving on to the cons. First of all, he has a rather terrible perk. All it does is give you a plus 5% XP gain per kill, and gives you an extra 10 damage resistance, which both of those are nothing in Fallout 4. This is also on top of the fact that he's not plot relevant at all. He's just a dude in an offshoot DLC with little to no influence on the story. Lastly, he's not a late game companion, he is an end game companion, because Nuka World is one of the last DLCs added, which means it has the highest level requirement to do well in. Meaning that you can only typically obtain Gage after you finish 90% to 100% of the game.
And now we got our man's title, and we decided to give him the title Nuka Robber because just like his character, he's pretty one-dimensional. He's just a raider that basically decided to spend the apocalypse in Disneyland. To further show how much of a tough guy Mr. Gage puts on, we have his quote right here.
Piss me off, and I'll still kick your ass from here to the Atlantic.
Down to the final 3, and we're going for the trivia first. Here it is. Unlike other companions, if one selects the best friend or thank you for his final affinity dialogue, Gage will never be available for romance ever again. Now, second to last, here is a descriptione. Porter Gage is a raider companion in Nuka World that will join you after you kill his boss in the DLC fairly early on in the story. He joins you in hopes that you'll be able to fix up Nuka World and get it under the control of one person. And for the piece de resistance, we have the rating of 5 out of 10 with the rating title of Boss Baby Raider. Honestly, he may be an overall solid character other than his personality, but given the fact he is so late in the game, makes it so we just can't give him very much. He also doesn't even have a lot of the extra dialogue that most Fallout companions have, just like the Far Harbor companion, where most things that happen in the story don't really care about because they weren't really programmed for it. This makes him feel lifeless and stale. Here we have an ancient relic, back when they knew how to write quirky female characters. Cassidy from Fallout New Vegas. She may be quirky, but she wasn't just insufferable and making constant jokes. Stat-wise, Cassidy is only good at things that involve gunslinging, which is not bad, but still. That being strength, perception, and agility, with the rest of the stats being below average. As for some pros of Cassidy, similar to a few other characters, she has a few routes that she can go down, making her stronger or weaker and having different changes to her character, as well as minor changes to the story at large. She starts out with her own unique shotgun and knife. As for her cons, even though she has multiple different perks and paths to go down, most of them are pretty bad, to be honest. That, and not to say she is a poorly written character, but she's not great. It's a fairly typical revenge story, so we gotta knock a few points for that, and having the typical problem of not being dynamic enough. This means, like with most characters, as soon as their main questline is done, they just become a generic no-line NPC following you around. As typical for these types of characters, we had to give her the title Vengeance, because just like Boone, if you really break her down, it's just a revenge plotline.
Now moving on, for the quote covering her personality, we have this.
Shh, we're hunting shitheads.
Skedaddling along, we have the trivia. Cassidy has the most dialogue in the game. It would have been Ulysses, but a lot of lines got cut. And here is Cassidy's description. Cassie is a follower you can recruit in the Mojave Outpost. After talking to her for a while and hearing her story, and also doing a quest for her involving the caravan that she owns, she is an okay companion but nothing too special. She also likes to drink a ton of whiskey, and you can pick if she forgives the people involved in the caravan's destruction or not. Lastly, for the lassie, we have a 5 out of 10 with a title of Who Are You Again? Because honestly, most of what anyone has to say about her is that she's a pretty good shot. Other than that, she doesn't have anything that makes her stand out. She has the same problem as Arcade Gannon, where no one really picks her up during a playthrough. Jericho. There's so much to say about Jericho. If Butch didn't exist, he'd definitely be the Butch of Fallout 3. Looking at his stats, he's pretty fast and pretty strong, but man is he dumb, and doesn't have a good way with words. We can only really say 2 good things about this man. He can trade rumors for 20 caps, and he's a decent all-arounder. If there's a gun in the game, he can use it, and he can use it pretty well, but once you get past the gunplay, you get to the negatives. The negatives are he has weapon variants of normal weapons, but they're just worse in every way for no reason. He also has some of the hardest requirements to recruit him in the game, needing to be both evil and giving him a large sum of money. He's also old and dying, so on top of coughing up blood, he's also constantly complaining wherever you go. He also likes to say that he's been around the block but doesn't have any insightful commentary about it, other than mentioning, "I've been here before." Now sadly, killing this man doesn't even give you much, as upon his death, he only drops 20 rounds of 5.56. But one of my favorite facts about him is the fact that he doesn't leave Megaton, even after you blow it up. He'll just roam around the crater for no apparent reason. So overall, despite being past his prime, we decided to give him the title of Mercenary.
Now as for a quote, we decided to make it the most common thing he says, because he really does not have much interesting to say that isn't just super long.
Think I've been here before. Think I've been here before. Think I've been here before.
The most basic trivia you will ever see in this video is right here. His name is a reference to the biblical city of Jericho. And as a continuation of being disappointing, we have his description. Jericho is a follower that you can recruit, but only if you are absolute scum of the earth with a hefty chunk of change in your pocket upon speaking to him. He is incredibly generic and fairly mid in combat. Now as for a sad rating for this sad man, we gave him a 4 out of 10. Sadly, he was just a worse version of Francis from Left 4 Dead 1. Dropping down from a fetish character in one direction, we have one in the other direction, as Myron is a little too fond of sleeping people. This walking homunculus boasts terrible stats unless you are talking about intelligence for the most part, though he is a good all-rounder in skills and is a decent source of ammo and stims. My favorite part besides his high intelligence is the fact that he is such a vile person to the point that killing him will actually give you karma, which is actually rare in Fallout 2 compared to the newer titles. That's it for the good things about him. Meanwhile, his downsides include the fact that he refuses to play nice with certain companions, outright refusing to join you if they are nearby. Outside of the low HP and the fact he likes sleeping people, this makes him a pretty mediocre follower to have in your party. But for all the achievements he made throughout his life, we had to give him the title of Evil Boy Genius.
Even though he may sell drugs to women, old people, and children, his quotes tell you exactly how much he loves drugs himself. "Don't use that shit on me, save it for the addicts." As for a description of this psychopath, we have Myron is a recruitable character and the inventor of Jet. Yes, the same Jet that can be found throughout all of Fallout. You can recruit him in New Reno in the stables by talking to him and either being a woman or just convincing him through dialogue choices. Next is some trivia for this bug-eyed freak. Canonically, Myron is killed by a jet addict after the events of the game. And, as we've always done before, we'll be ending off with a ranking. 3 out of 10. Sub-mid weirdo. May Myron rest in peace, he won't be missed. Next up, we have the most unlucky and somewhat sentient robot in the series, Ada. Boasting overall pretty terrible stats, at least at first, being only slightly weaker than an Olympic champion, equally as fast as one, and pretty intelligent, but overall terrible stats. Now we move on to the pros. Ada is truly an unfeeling machine. No matter who you join, what faction you support, who you kill, Ada will always be with you. She'll do anything for you. And you can also upgrade most of her parts and give her different armor and or weapons. On top of that, she is one of the companions that gives you items, but this specific one is completely random. And for a surprisingly unique one, Ada is one of the few companions that will steal from you if you ask her. And after that, we move on to the cons. Ada sadly has no perk, so there's really no reason to build affinity with her. Treat her however you want. On top of that, she has no real personality. She's just a lost robot you pick up after all of her friends died. It seems that she can actually feel depression and guilt, but not much else. Lastly, I hope you like grabbing and scrapping everything in the wasteland you can, because all of the upgrades for Ada, they're not cheap. An arm, a leg, maybe even a few eyeballs on top of that.
For a title, we decided to give her Lego Build-A-Bear, since again, you have to mix and match different parts to make her effective, and just like a Build-A-Bear, she'll cost you a fortune in the process. No, seriously, those Build-A-Bear prices are actually pretty crazy. For the quote, we have the following.
I've never lost anyone before. This failure is new to me.
And surprisingly, we do have some decent trivia for Ada. Some of Ada's lines are references to pop culture and science fiction, saying things such as, using a keyboard, how quaint, and resistance is futile, which are both Star Trek references. And now we move on to everyone's favorite part, the description. Ada is automatically recruited as a companion during the quest Mechanical Menace after destroying the robot sent by the Mechanist to attack her, and then talking to her. She can be customized and upgraded down the line, and is hands down the strongest companion when you do so. Now for the official rating of 6.5 out of 10, Bob the Builder Fetish, we didn't give her a 6.5 because of her dialogue or because of her personality. We banked this rating purely off of her combat prowess. If you build her correctly, she can be the strongest companion in the series, vaporizing anything with relative ease. However, there's nothing else to her other than that, so we docked her a lot of points. Otherwise, she might have been a 10 out of 10 if she was, more creative. The flesh is weak, and here we have its poster boy in Fallout 3, Sergeant RL3. Despite being a hovering robot with formerly state-of-the-art equipment, somehow RL3 has exactly average stats besides perception. This is probably on account of it having 3 eyes. One of the reasons you might want this good old scrap buddy is the fact that it is one of the creatures that gets the DLC health buff. If you are wondering what that is, every non-human, minus Charon, entity in Fallout 3 gets a huge HP buff from the Broken Steel DLC. For RL3, he specifically gets an extra 9 times HP. Other than that, he has a plasma rifle built in, is very durable because of the DLC, has a hovering flashlight built into its lenses, is one of the few companions that can get the Gek for you, counts as a creature follower, so you can have both him and a human type, and since he hovers over water as well. Sadly though, there is a pretty good reason we don't see a whole lot of these types of droids, because they do have their downfalls. They cannot sneak at all. After a few hundred years, they start to get buggy. In the case of RL3 specifically, you'll need high karma and barter to get him for a cheaper price. Otherwise, it will cost you 1,000 caps. Lastly, if he is killed before you meet him by any other random encounter, he will be gone from the game forever. Combining everything though, we decided to give him the title of Attack Droid.
Now, if you listen closely, one of the things this bloodthirsty bot may say is this.
I cannot wait to find you, so I can kill you as a personal favor to Uncle Sam,
And as a bit of trivia, probably because old world America is a lot like modern America, a lot of this man's voice lines are references to old TV and media. And then we have a description of our old robot RL3. It's a Mr. Gutsy that you can find hovering alongside a robot merchant outside in the wasteland. You can buy him for 1,000 caps or 500 caps if you meet the prerequisites. He is a fairly reliable combat robot with a hefty buff from the DLC and a decent personality. Now for the Scrap Heaps rating. We gave him a 5 out of 10 Old War Relic. He really doesn't have much personality or much variety or a way to pay back the money I used to get him. He probably should have stayed a relic in the ground.
Next up, we got Nose Boner Man, aka Sulik. I'm not even going to deny this. This is one of the strongest and best characters in all of Fallout 2. Having his lowest stat be a 3-way tie at fucking 7. He almost feels like an OC character, boasting extremely good melee and solid HP. Now he does have a few downsides. He is a morally good person, so he won't work with slavers or child killers. Combo that with him being a tribal and the fact that he can't use ranged weapons very well. Not that he needs to. So overall, we decided to give him the title of Melee God. Now this Melee God tribal says a lot of things, but we decided on this quote specifically. After you kill something, it will not talk to you.
As a description of this unique man, we have the following. Sulik is a tribal from a far-off tribe holed up in the Buckner house in Klamath. He got drunk and very angry when he couldn't find Vic, and now he has some debts to pay to make things right. You can recruit him by paying off his debts. $350, by the way. And after that, he says he'll go with you to find the people who kidnapped his sister, the slavers and Vic. And moving on to what Sulik is lacking, in that we have trivia. We have this little tidbit. The devs left his story open-ended in case they ever wanted to pick it back up. They never will. And to fully round off this man, we gave him a 9 out of 10 catch these hands. Great personality, amazing combat prowess. He didn't quite get that 10 out of 10, but he was close. And he'll beat your ass.
Next up, we have another inferior Mr. Handy model. One that's so terrible, you could put her in a synth body instead. In fact, you should. Looking at her stats, she has amazing agility, but is completely mediocre in just about everything else. Now, as for some pros for her, again, you can change her into a different body, so she is technically 2 different companions for the price of 1. However, you will still have to deal with her mediocre personality either way, sadly. Doesn't change at all. On top of that, she's one of the best companions that gives you occasional items because her item type is Stimpaks instead of the typical ammo types that others give you. The last 2 good things about Curie is that she technically has 2 perks, and they are both great. One being that Stimpaks will heal you extra, and the other being that when you are at 10% HP, she'll give you a free full heal once per day. Lastly, she is not as excited about it as Cait, but she still is down to fuck. Now onto this Triclops bad side, she only really has 1. Other than the fact you'll probably pass her by and not realize she's even in the game. If you want to unlock her extra abilities like becoming a synth, you're going to have to do multiple quest lines in order to have her become even somewhat useful. Because as a Mr. Handy, she can't really do much. So overall, given her not being comfortable in her own body, we decided to give her the title of Trans Robot.
And now for the quote didgeridoo, we have this.
It is almost pretty, in a toxic and radioactive sort of way.
Now as for the trivia for Curie, we have the following. She is named after Marie Skłodowska Curie, the lady who pioneered radioactivity in science. And last, we have a description of old Robo Girly. Curie is a follower you can recruit at Vault 81. After you do a quest in search of a cure for one of the children in the vault who is bitten by a mole rat. Weirdly, she'll join you whether or not you give the kid the cure. And lastly, we decided to give her a rating of 4 out of 10. Side objective. She's forgettable, she's missable, she's not very submissible, and overall she may have good perks, but she has terrible stats and a lack of variety. She just belongs nowhere in the overarching story, and you might as well just call her Codsworth's side hoe, in all honesty. Outside of Fallout 4, we have our one and only custom robot companion, with an overall amazing spread of stats outside of charisma. This robot was made to be very proficient in science and small guns. It's basically a mini death machine, boasting good HP, good armor, and is amazingly intelligent. However, just like he looks, he's a bit limited. It can't use most skills in the game, it has 1 charisma, and lacks any personality. We gave this monster the title of Smart Robo Quick Draw, since combat is the main thing it'll be used for. Skynet's not much of a talker, but we do have a quote from him. Skynet is free, your purpose is at an end.
Now for this noodle-armed boy, here is the description from the poster as per usual. You will find Skynet in the Sierra Army Depot and assemble it. After that, you can recruit it into your party. It cannot be harmed by pulse grenades, and it can instantly repair itself outside of combat. And just like rolling stereotype that he is, let's look at the trivia about him. His name is a reference to Terminator's Skynet. It is speculated in the Fallout Bible that he is looking for a better body. And now, to just kind of fit with his goal to find a better body, we decided to give him a 6 out of 10. Gimme some brains. Rolling on by, we have the scientist companion of New Vegas, Arcade Gannon, boasting maxed out intelligence as the one main stat that he can be proud of, though most of his other stats are fine too. As for some of his pros, being a Nepo baby and being related to secretive members of the remnants of the Enclave, he can get you some of the best quote-unquote medium armor, even though it's power armor, in the game. Don't know why it counts as medium armor, but that's a question for the devs, not us sadly. Given his background, he was given a large amount of training, not only medically, but in terms of holding his own using plasma weaponry and melee. He even starts off with a plasma pistol when you first recruit him. But just like everyone on this list, he is not perfect. Similar to a good amount of other companions in this game, he will not join you if you associate yourself with Mr. I have a tumor and a dream. He is also not the easiest companion to recruit, being pretty easily missable, and having decently hard requirements. The easiest way to recruit him is by having 3 or lower intelligence, or by having the confirmed bachelor perk, meaning you either have to be retarded or gay to be with this man, or you can do a quest to recruit him.
As the last 2 parts of his character, he is both a magician and a bad teacher. The magician part comes from the fact that when you kill him, he drops nothing. Not a damn thing, not an energy pistol, not a coat, nothing. And the terrible teacher part comes from the fact that his perk lets you slightly heal more from using healing items. This means that even though he's a doctor, he can barely nudge you in the direction of how to help you with healing and medkits and the such, making that perk very mid, all things considered. Wrapping everything up in a nice little bow, we decided to give him the title of Wasteland Doctor. And onto his quote we have,
"There's nothing new under the sun."
We don't know exactly where this comes from, but it sounds cool. And moving on to the trivia. Joshua Sawyer loved this character and directly wrote nearly all of the dialogue for him in New Vegas. Originally, he was supposed to appear in Fallout 3, but was cut. Lastly, right before we rank him, we have the description of his character. Not the most interesting of story, but here you go. Arcade Gannon is a doctor companion that you recruit in the old Mormon fort in New Vegas Freeside. He is part of the Followers of the Apocalypse, and the ways you can get him involve being retarded, gay, or being good at talking. He can be easily missed by new players, but has decent dialogue, backstory, a decent quest line, and decent character/personality. He is also pretty memorable as his family is part of the Enclave. So putting all the pieces together, we decided to give this man a solid 6 out of 10 rating, with a label of overly hidden potential. Overall, he's a pretty interesting character, but he's thrown in such an obscure area with unique requirements that he just doesn't stand out. So he had to be rated lower just by the virtue that you might miss him in your first or second playthrough.
Did you enjoy the hellscape that is Silent Hill? Would you like it in island form periodically? Well, that's where our friend Longfellow lives. A hardened old man with overall decent stats and amazing agility for his incredibly old age. Looking at some of Longfellow's pros, he has a decent perk which gives you a 25% damage reduction against all animals and sea creatures. Not too shabby. He's also in, what I'd like to argue, the most story-rich and interesting DLC in Fallout 4. This means he has a lot of decent interactions throughout the DLC, which has to bump up his score. Lastly, on his good side, is his decent starting armor compared to most companions, except for power armor users, of course. And now we move on to the cons. Honestly, most of his character revolves around him being the stoic, bitter old man who lost most of his family. He's like an older, sadder version of Boone, but hey, at least he won't randomly hip fire at any legionaries in Cait. His last con is the fact that he just lives in hell. This is one of the most depressing and hard DLCs in the game. You're on an island that periodically gets covered in fog where nightmarish monsters come out to kill you. So honestly, he doesn't have very many pros or cons just because he's a very neutral character.
Moving on to his title, we decided to give him Old Man in a Young Man's World. This goes along with the old quote, basically saying you should be afraid of any old man still kicking it in a modern hellscape, as they're probably extremely tough and have nothing to lose. Now to further prove he's just a depressing old man, here is his quote.
Bury me with a bottle.
And for the trivia, we don't really have anything, but we still put something there anyways. He has no comments for any of the base game locations. And now we move on to the description. Old Longfellow is a recruit in the Far Harbor DLC at the last plank. He agrees to escort you to Accordia, and then he can become a potential permanent companion, if you choose so. He is fairly important story-wise in the DLC of course, not in the base game, and he will have plenty of dialogue throughout the DLC. Again, outside the DLC though, he isn't much. So we decided to give him a 6 out of 10 Bog rank. Honestly, he's just a stereotype, but he fits it well, he does his job, and then he leaves. You couldn't really ask for more or less. He does his job. He's a fitting archetype. Now we have Vic. He has good intelligence, but everything else is a bit mediocre. He's amazing at repairing. In fact, he's the best in the whole game at it. Not that that's a great skill to have in general, though. He has good lockpicking and decent scaling, especially late game. And he can use energy weapons, pretty good small guns too. Though, that is where the stats start to drop off. He has pretty low tag skills overall, starts with basically no items, and weirdly enough has one of the worst healing rates in the game at 1, so he doesn't recover HP very fast. He even managed to have low crit chance with average luck, which is pretty impressive. Not gonna lie, but what's even more impressive is the fact that he hits as hard as a child with his base melee being the same as that other character. Now we decided to give him the title of Combat Engineer since he is a handyman and he's pretty handy with a gun as well.
Now because of his excessive use of nicknames, we decided to make his quote the most common word he uses. Boss, 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 boss. Moving on, we have his description. Vic is a trader that you are sent to in Fallout 2 at the start of the game in order to get information regarding where to find a Gek. You end up finding him captured by slavers in the den on the east side of town. After rescuing him, or buying his freedom, you can recruit him. Very generic character though, not much to say about him. And now, just as milquetoast as his personality, we have some milquetoast trivia to go over. Vic shares his name with Trader Vic's, which is a chain restaurant. He calls everyone boss. All of this folds into his final rating of 2 out of 10. Captain Mid, because he is mid as shit.
Paladin Danse, Paladin Danse. There's so many things I want to say about this man. Like he's the center of one of the biggest plot holes in all of Fallout 4. Besides that point though, looking at his stats, overall they're pretty amazing. Besides the fact that he's a military man with average strength. But overall, Even in power armor, he's somehow incredibly fast, and has amazing perception. Now for his pros. He has one of the best perks in the game, giving you a 20% damage increase against ghouls, super mutants, and synths. On top of that, he starts with power armor, and after you first meet him, he'll also give you a fairly good laser rifle. Lastly, during one of the quests in the game, if you wait in a certain area, Paladin Danse can farm infinite energy cells for you. Now on to some of the cons. Like I mentioned before, he has a poorly written storyline. Somehow he's a synth, and somehow the Institute lost control of him, and somehow they can't get control back over him. Lots of somehows that are never explained in any shape, way, or form throughout the game. Sadly, another thing we have to list as a negative, since the Brotherhood of Steel does not play very nice in this game, is the fact that in order to have Danse on your team, you have to have good standing with the Brotherhood, even after he's kicked out. And lastly, you cannot get him out of his suit. You want to customize him? You want to play dress up? Find a different companion.
Altogether though, we decided to give him the title of R-rated Up. Imagine the movie Up, but instead of an old man, a kid, and a dog, it's a bunch of military LARPers on a Zeppelin. And by the way, here's a quote from this old man.
I haven't had a good beer in quite a long time.
Now for Paladin Dance's trivia. We have some of the more sad types of trivia, that being cut content. Unused dialogue suggests that Paladin Danse and the Soul Survivor were able to challenge Elder Maxon's authority through combat. This leads to Danse regaining his standing with the Brotherhood of Steel and you becoming Elder. And now for the massive block of text known as the description. Paladin Danse is a follower you can recruit by assisting him against ghouls at the Cambridge police station, and then going along with a series of quests that land you in the Brotherhood of Steel. After joining the Brotherhood, you will have the option to take him with as a follower. He is a decently well personified character and is overall enjoyable to have around. He also has power armor to start with, which is a huge plus for a follower that can get it relatively early. And now for the end of this character. We gave him a 6.5 out of 10 with the title of Brotherhood Poster Boy. Honestly, he had a cool plot twist, but the story didn't make much sense in that regard. Not to mention that, out of most companions with a story, he has some of the least personality out of most of them. And sadly, again, if a lot of the cut content he had would have been added, he would have definitely been higher on the list. Next up, we have K9, the Robodog. And not even the last one either. In fact, if you count other Robodogs in the series, there are around 4 more. The K9 boasts very good stats, other than charisma, because this is Fallout. Of course, all the dogs have shitty charisma. And his lowest stats, other than that, being strength and intelligence, both of them being a 6. Some other general good things about him are, of course, his name being a pun, and he has a ridiculously high crit chance, which all 3 of these good traits combined has earned him the title Does Bite, because this bad boy will bite your leg off, handily. Now, as for the downsides to this humble cybernetic project, it is decently smart, so it can understand if you are a bad person or not. If you are a bad person, it will refuse to join you. It will also turn against you if you lie to Skynet, making it a full-on robo-traitor. Of course, the last one is the fact that his name is a pun. Gotta mark down a few points for that.
For a quote regarding K9, he's a little unsure of your building prowess, and he asks, "That's not where this goes. Master, are you sure you know what you're doing?" As for a little rundown of this rust bucket dog, we have a description. K9 is a companion that you can recruit at Camp Navarro's underground complex. There you will find his current master, Dr. Schreber, and you can just close the door and sneakily kill him, or just kill him outright. After that, speak to K9 to recruit him. As long as you meet the requirements, K9 behaves mostly like any other dog. Next up is the trivia. We don't have much, but we have this. K9's name is a pun for the word canine, and K9 is a designation for dogs used by the police and the military. As for a final rating, we have a 5 out of 10, bland cyberdog. Despite his very high crit chance that makes him more of a one-trick dog pony than anything, that means he doesn't really have high health or armor or anything else useful, putting him at a 5 out of 10.
Preston Garvey. A man of many, way too many words. Who, with his high charisma and luck, has led many people to their death. Except for himself. Overall, he has pretty good stats. Of course, like most Fallout characters, he does have a 5 in strength. But other than that, it's looking rather good. He has a pretty good perk, offering a temporary 20% damage increase and an extra 20 damage resistance when facing 3 or more enemies at once. Which is a funny perk to have considering he war-pigged the rest of the Minutemen into near extinction. On top of that, he's one of the earliest recruits to get. You just have to get through a Deathclaw and a small army of raiders. After that, you have his last pro. He's technically the good guy faction, for the most part. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Minutemen are technically the only pure good faction. And no, the Railroad does not count at all, because they only help synths and nobody else, and that's pretty fucking stupid if you ask me. And now we move on to his cons. Preston Garvey is a character meant to pad out the game, giving infinite quests that don't even make that much sense. Like an angry god, he will spawn enemies upon accepting any one of these quests. On top of that, he is one of the companions most limited on dialogue, at least that's how it feels. We also have to dock him on poor leadership skills because the only people under his command when you find him are Grandma, 3 background characters, and himself about to put a gun to his mouth. On top of that, just like Legos, this faction recruit requires assembly. It has no legs to stand on, so you have to hike up your overhauls and start carrying the entire faction single-handedly. Lastly, destroy all the wasteland, burn down all the trees. I need more wood for my settlements. This is not a joke. Hand it all over, all of it. I don't give a shit.
And for the title of Preston Garvey, we have... And for his quote, we have the classic.
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. I'll mark it on your map.
And now that we're done with that mental flashbang, here's the trivia. While designing Preston Garvey, character designer Dennis Mojones used several film characters for reference. One of these includes scientist Miles Dason from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And now for the least interesting but necessary part. The description. Preston Garvey is a follower you can recruit fairly early on, so long as you follow the Minutemen questline after rescuing him and his group from some raiders and a Deathclaw. His personality is okay, but it gets old rather fast due to the repeated dialogue throughout the game. Having him as a follower isn't anything too special outside of the occasional pieces of unique dialogue. Now coming on to the end game, we have Preston Garvey, a 6 out of 10 DEI companion. Being the token black companion of Fallout 4, outside of the synthy nature, he's honestly just a mediocre companion. But most importantly, he is very important to the storyline and does have some redeeming qualities. Hence, he still got a 6 out of 10. Still, I don't know how the Minutemen were able to build a teleporter, or cannons that could bring down an airship, but it's Fallout. It's not supposed to make sense, I guess. Up next, we have John Cassidy, a fourth wall-breaking, bald, and very lucky individual. He boasts a high crit chance, is great with small guns, and unarmed, and with his luck stat, he's a decent gambler and barter. As for some of the negatives, he can't use energy weapons. And not only does he hate dumb people, you can't recruit him if your intelligence is too low. On top of that, he has a bad heart, which he has medication for, but it doesn't really work. Oh, and if you give him drugs of any kind, he will die right on the spot. Here on the poster, we have captured one of his fourth wall-breaking quotes. Too bad you can't reload the game and try again.
Now, being barred from energy weapons made his skill in other weapons even better, giving him the title of the Marksman. Alright, and now for a description for him, we have the following. John Cassidy is a companion you can recruit in the bar just outside Vault City's walls. He is the actual bartender, and will happily join you to get out of his miserable situation and lack of business. At least for a while. Oh, and of course, if you want some trivia, we got it right here. Multiple fourth wall breaking quotes. Yes, this is the father of Cassidy from New Vegas. This is the same guy. He has a false eye and a metal plate in his skull. Now overall, we gave him a rating of 6.5 out of 10, with the rating title of Rifle by Your Side. Funny enough, despite his daughter being in one of the later titles, he is also vaguely reminiscent of another character. He is basically Fallout 2's Boone, just without the hatred for the Legion, and of course, decades older.